Hello, I'm Dan Robeson, and I have the privilege of being Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences here at Iowa State University. We're thrilled that you're joining today with some of our experts to learn about agriculture, natural resources, about the technologies and the social sciences and the decision-making that underlines what you do on the landscapes of Iowa, in the manufacturing plants of Iowa, and all across our state in every kind of community. Jay Harmon as our Associate Dean for Extension and Outreach, and Mark Honeyman as our Associate Dean for Operations, and all the work that they do with all the people at our field stations, near and far, are there with our Extension Specialists and our faculty who have Extension and Outreach appointments to provide to the people of Iowa information on the latest and greatest ways to improve the productivity of our landscapes, to improve the quality of their management, to help the people who manage the landscapes and process our food and do all those sorts of things. And we're thrilled to be able to bring to you, through those experts, information that can help you do a better job on your lands, in your communities, on your farms, and in your businesses. This is a difficult time when we can't meet in person, but I'm so happy that we're able to do this work virtually. Last summer, my first summer here in Iowa, I was able to visit a number of the farms across the state, north, south, east, and west. I plan to visit more as soon as we can, places I haven't been, and to return to places that I have, so that I can see where you are and what you do. But in the meantime, thanks for tuning into these programs, for learning with us. This is where the rubber meets the road, where teaching, research, and extension all come together to support not just our students, not just to enable our faculty, but to enable the people in the communities of Iowa. So thanks so much for being part of this, and let us know what you think. We're always interested in your ideas. All the best.
I'm Mark Honeyman. I'm Associate Dean for the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, and I've worked with the research farms for many years, and I want to welcome you to this virtual field day. The Iowa State University network of research farms is a system of what we think of as public farms. And we're very proud of these farms. They date clear back to when Iowa State opened in the 1860s with a model farm, and now we have a statewide network. If you think about this concept of public farms, it's important because Iowa agriculture is a world-class operation, and it needs the research and information to keep it current, and these farms provide that. College of Agriculture and Life Sciences is one of the leading colleges of agriculture in the world. Iowa's agricultural industry is one of the leading agricultural industries in the world. And when we put that together with Iowa's extension network, which is world-class, we end up with this strong partnership. It's about partnerships and how over time, year after year, season after season, growing season after growing season, that network produces the kind of information that provides the underpinning for the science to drive Iowa agriculture, to answer the questions that keep coming. There's a new pest, there's a new storm, there's a drought, there's a hail event. All that information keeps layering to support agriculture and moving it forward. The Iowa Research Farm system is built on partnerships. And really it's a partnership between the Iowa State on one hand and the local associations of farmers and ag businesses on the other hand. And that is a proven recipe for success. I brought with me one of the outputs of these farms. It's called a progress report. These are issued for each location each year. They're also online, and you can access all the annual reports by Googling or searching ISU Research Farms. And the reason these farms are scattered around the state is different soils, and you can see the soil types on this map. They're scattered around the state because of different rainfall patterns, different weather, different growing degree days. Obviously, the season starts earlier in southern Iowa and ends earlier in northern Iowa. And that has impacts on our crops and our practices. And that helps scientists understand. You know, one way we learn is by comparing things that are different. And so they can compare northern Iowa to southern Iowa, eastern Iowa to western Iowa. And that makes the information even more valuable. One more thing on the map that's shown is that there are circles and squares. Many of these farms are owned by the university, and those are represented by little squares on the map. And the farms that are owned by the associations are the circles on the map. You'll notice there's 8 of those associations. And those groups, as I said, have come together, pooled their resources, and purchased land, and then they lease it to Iowa State University College of Agriculture and Life Sciences at a reduced rate. And the college staffs the farms, operates the farms, and in return, the return to these local farmers is that connection with Iowa State, is the information that it generates. And that, over time, is the proven Iowa system that is the envy of the world to many, in many cases, and they've come here to learn how to do that kind of effective technology transfer, that effective communication, that effective applied research to support agriculture. I want to thank you today for attending the virtual field day. So thank you very much. I want to introduce my colleague, Tim Good, who manages farms all over the state, and he's got some more details of some of these locations. Thank you very much.
Just a reminder, if you have questions during our presentation today, please hit the Q&A button down below. A box will pop up, type in your question, and at the end of the presentation, our moderator for today will work with our speakers to get those questions answered.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Good, Farms Manager with Iowa State University Research Farms. Thank you for attending our virtual field day today. I'm going to take you around a few locations around the state and talk about some highlights of activities and so forth going on at our farm locations. We're going to start at the Northern Research Farm near Kanawha, Iowa. That farm is nestled right up against the south side of Kanawha, and it's been a long time neighbor of the town. It's actually our first research farm in our system, and it came into being about 1930 when a group of area farmers came to Curtis Hall and talked to the Dean of Agriculture about doing research on the farms in rural Iowa. And that farm setup has been a model for our other farms around the state. As you look at these photos, you'll see some interesting things. The aerial photos demonstrate the fact that the farm looks like a quilt. It's a patchwork of tiny plots. And at each of our farms, the managers manage hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny fields across their farms. You'll also see that we do a lot of aerial work there. The farm staff is our experts using unmanned aerial systems or drones, and that really helps the researchers do their work. The upper right photo in this slide shows an irrigation system which the plant pathologists use to keep soybean tissue wet to promote white mold growth so they can study that in the area. Those are a few highlights from our Kanawha farm. Our next slide talks about cover crop work that we're doing at many farms around the state. We all understand the importance of cover crops. Two photos on the left-hand side of this slide show some equipment that we have developed to use for seeding cover crops. The upper left is a high-clearance cover crop seeder that our ag engineering agronomy farm staff built from a high-clearance sprayer. It's actually being used today, and it seeds cover crops in mature standing corn. The left-hand lower photo shows another seeder that seeds cover crops into standing corn up to about V5 or V6 stage of growth. You'll see in the center photo cattle at our McNay Research Farm grazing cover crop, so we further utilize that cover crop through grazing. The upper right shows some rye seed that we are growing on the farms to utilize as cover crop, and that seed is being combined about a month ago in July, and we had a great crop. The lower right shows combining soybeans in with cover crop growing in the field. So again, at the farms we have hundreds of acres of cover crops in the fall, and we know the importance of that work, and we do as much as we can. The next thing we'll talk about is water quality. We have many water quality research installations around the state, and this slide highlights the work that was installed about a year ago at our Northwest Research Farm near Sutherland, Iowa. It's the installation of a new bioreactor, which is an edge of field installation where a bed of wood chips is buried, and those wood chips host microbes which grab nitrates from the tile water that passes through those wood chips. This wood chip bed's about 20 feet by 100 feet, and it helps to clean the water that comes out of about 20 acres of cropland. And you can see the installation and the tile lines on the photos in this slide. So again, we continue to work with water quality research. Some of those installations also include buffer strips, saturated buffer strips, oxbow restorations, and again bioreactors. So an important part of the work that Iowa State's doing across the state. Our next slide highlights youth activities which occur at the research farms around the state. Every one of our farms hosts many youth activities every year, and in fact some farms host all of the kids from a particular grade from the schools in that county once a day to come to the farm. And that does many things. It introduces those kids to farm activities, much of which they aren't exposed to anymore in their daily lives. It also exposes those kids to Iowa State University, and someday we may have Iowa State students come out of those visits. The lower left photo in this slide shows a hog project at our Western Research Farm in Monona County. We have conservation, we have technology, we have safety, and soil judging all highlighted in these photos. So again, the youth activities are a very important part of what we do on the research farms. The next slide shows some highlights of our McNay Research Farm, which is located near Sheraton in south central Iowa. At the farm we have a new automated self-contained cattle supplement feeding system, and it's kind of a high technology creep feeder. It has a capacity to feed 4 different diets. The computer, the electronics inside of it select which diet each animal is offered, and it allows to do supplement feeding trials on pasture, on the farm, and it's a new tool that we're using there at the McNay farm. This next slide highlights the automated weather stations which Iowa State has across many of our farms around the state. This soil moisture network contains about 23 sites where data is uploaded from the sites hourly. Data includes wind speed and direction, rainfall, solar radiation, air temperature, soil temperature and moisture at 4-inch, 12-inch, 24-inch, and 48 inches of depth below a growing crop. This soil network is very important to our researchers and others observing the weather across the state. You can find this weather information by searching ISU Mesonet on your browser. Thank you for your interest and support of Iowa State University Farms. We'll now move to a question and answer session.
Good morning, and I'm grateful you joined us today. I'm Joel Dion. I'm an extension field agronomist in Northwest Iowa, and I'm pleased to be part of this event today. Quick reminder, the Q&A box is for questions. Type in your questions, and we will hopefully during the time remaining ask them of everybody. Second part of my introduction is I am also the secretary of the Northwest Iowa Research Farm Association. That's the farmer-owned group in Northwest Iowa that does research for this part of the state. And I am a member of that organization also. So if you have any questions, don't forget the Q&A box. A couple other points that I need to bring up this morning. Number one, certified crop advisors. If, hopefully, when you registered for this series, you did put your CCA number in that registration form, they will follow and make sure that you're online, and we'll get you credit submitted in that process. So for those of you that did not get that done, please put your CCA number in the chat box if you didn't put it on your form to begin with. That way we can go look up your name and get your CCA credit done at the same time. Also, a quick reminder, on Wednesday of this week, on September 2, from 1 to 2 p.m., we added a recent webinar in response to the derecho. It is a webinar on managing down corn. Hopefully, the chat box will have some information on that in a near future. Sometime this morning, they should have that information. So don't forget, put your questions in the Q&A box down below. In the meantime, I'm going to start by asking a question of our speakers. The first one is that I have is how do I become a member of my nearby research farm association?
Okay, Joel, this is Mark Honeyman. Can you hear me? All right. If people want to join the Research Farm Association for the farm in their area, they can do it a couple different ways. They can contact, of course, the farm, talk to the farm superintendent, or they can contact any extension person that can help them get connected to that group. So these groups are so important for the support of the research farm.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, I agree. They are very important. We actually in the Northwest Farm serve 10 counties. We have 2 board members from each county that are on there, and they often give us great ideas of areas of research we need to move into. Matter of fact, they're the ones that led us into doing more research 15 to 20 years ago already on water quality, issues that they were seeing as concerns for the future, and they wanted us to start research at that stage and made a significant investment into making sure we could do water quality work.
That's right. That's right. They often do. Reminds me in Northeast Iowa when that farm opened in the 70s. The local people stepped forward and said, we need to be doing more about water quality. We need to do more to understand how our cropping systems impact soil, water, and the materials that are in it.
Speaking of projects like that, Mark and or Tim, because I know Tim's on this morning also, who determines what projects are done at the farm? How are those projects determined? It's not just by board members, I don't believe. So how are they determined?
Yeah, every project has a project leader, and that's most often a faculty member at Iowa State, but it also can be extension staff or the farm superintendent in some cases. And so it's a kind of a process that goes back and forth. What are the topics? What is the funding? What is the interest? Where is the science at that time? And all those things come together to create a project. I think that's the best way to say it. It isn't automatic. It's kind of this back and forth process.
I can add just a bit. It is a two-way street. We do get questions and requests from the farmers in the area through the association, and then those filter through the farm manager and to campus, to PIs. In that case, sometimes the ideas come from the area.
Right. We have faculty say how much their program improves when they interact with farmers, and we have farmers say that their farm operations improve by interacting with the farm. So it certainly is a two-way interaction.
Tim, you used the term PI. What's a PI?
Yes, a PI is a project investigator or leader of the project, typically a faculty member who does the grant writing, the project design, and lays out all the exact items of the project and then carries it through. They'll ensure that it gets placed properly, planted, treatments throughout the season, and then data is taken as needed as the project specifies. And the farm managers and staff and the project leaders and the technicians of the project are all involved to help make that process come out and to help ensure we get good data in the end.
Thanks, Tim. So, one of the questions that came in, can you please tell us how field trials may occur off the research farm?
Well, actually, that's a system that started with input by farmers, and each of these outlying research farms have the capability to do what we call on-farm trials in farmers' fields. And with the advent of GPS, particularly in farm machinery, it's become possible to do strip trials that are field scale rather than the small plots. And there's a person at the farm that'll partner with farmers to do certain trials that fit into those strip trial formats. And there's a statewide leader, Mike Witt, that helps coordinate those as well. So if a farmer is interested in that, they can contact Extension or contact the farm and plug into those on-farm trials. Then all those trials are aggregated and summarized into reports each winter to see how the combination of all those individual trials stack up. And farmers learn from how to do things on their farms, but also learn what's happening on other farms as well.
Thanks, Mark. I had a question, well, actually a comment come in. It came from Ethan Smith. He wanted to say thanks for the new irrigation pivot at Fruitland. It's getting used heavily this year. You want to expand on that and how you improve the research farms over time?
Yeah, each farm has its own account, and so the grain and livestock that's produced from the farm is sold and goes into that account. The project leaders and then the projects pay fees into that account, and those funds are used to improve the farm, buy equipment, improve the buildings. Because the agreement that the university has with the association is that we operate the farm, we staff it, we equip it, and we do all the operations. On big purchases like a center pivot irrigation, we have to partner and find sometimes donors, sometimes the farm association will raise funds. Sometimes there's funds that come from other university sources to put those improvements in place so that many can use them. And so it's, again, a cooperative effort. Like we talked about earlier, it's about partnerships, finding those relationships that can move these places forward. I know Tim works on that a lot, and he may want to comment more. We've got needs and dreams at many locations. I'll put it that way.
That's exactly right, Mark. And often the needs and dreams exceed what we can do at a time. So we pace ourselves. We try to take care of the priorities. When you have an opportunity to work with a partnership, we certainly try to take advantage of that. The irrigation pivots at Muscatine were mentioned in the question. And we did have the opportunity to take an old system and update it, modernize it, make it more reliable. And it's done a good job there for the Muscatine Island Research Farm.
I might also note that I have a chance to work with staff at a couple different research farms. And it's amazing how creative they will get and create new equipment to do research. Repurposing things like detasseling machines to spray fungicide plots. It's amazing what kind of creativity they have to do because that type of equipment isn't on the line very often. They have to create it. Another question in the mix was, what kind of biomass research is being done at Iowa State University?
Well, the biomass research really took off a few years ago when the whole alternative fuels industry took off. And so there's a whole series of bioenergy research. Some of it's in woody plants, like fast-growing poplars or alders or cottonwoods. Some of it is in perennials, like miscanthus, which is a giant grass. Iowa State's actually been a national leader on that. And some of it is on annuals, like switchgrass. Well, I guess that'd be perennial, but also annuals like corn stalks. And some of the ag engineers have led work on how to harvest corn stalks, how to bale it in an efficient way, and how to store it. So there's that whole array of cropping systems and types of crops that have been worked on. I've probably left out some, but those are the kinds of things that they're doing with bioenergy. And then at our BioCentury research farm, besides growing this, they're working on how can we use it, how can we turn it into energy, how can we take it and turn it into ethanol, turn it into biogas, turn it into all the different products that allow us to use it as energy. And then the soil scientists are looking at what does that do to our Iowa soils. And so one of the things that Iowa State's tried to do is look at it in the holistic or the whole loop point of view. And that's why the BioCentury farm is located out on a research farm to position it closely to all that activity.
Thanks, Mark. Question for Tim. Tim, what other types of research are on the farms besides traditional crops? Horticulture, what other types of things are out there?
Sure, good question. There's a wide array of different types of crops. We do have horticulture crops, primarily located at our hort station east of Gilbert near Ames. And there we have vineyards and orchards, vegetable crops, melons, berries, everything you can imagine. We have had a hops yard in the recent past. Out on the farms around the state, we've got a beef cattle breeding project at our McNay farm. We finish pigs and hoops at our Western farm. We finish some of the McNay farm cattle at our LE farm and our Armstrong farm. So those are some of the livestock work that we do out around the state. We also have some alfalfa work in Northeast Iowa. We've talked about cover crops, just a wide array of different projects. Anything to add there, Mark?
Well, small grains at 3 locations across the state to compare different varieties. Horticultural crops, 7 locations through the demonstration home garden. Muscatine, of course, has grown melons and done research related to those crops on the sandy soils there for many years. And then a lot of work related to pests, weeds, insects, crop diseases, nematodes. And often that work goes where the pest is located. In fact, I think it was just a year or 2 ago, the entomologist discovered a new pest, the gall midge in soybeans. And so that is all happening, plus work related to tillage and soils. And Tim mentioned in his presentation the weather station network, the Mesonet, really generating data every day that thousands of people look at. So those are some more things.
Thank you. It's almost 8:30. It's amazing how rapidly a half hour goes. I've got one more discussion for people on going to ask about some cover crops, although the chat box has had some discussion about some of that cover crop work. But I would like to say that as an extension field agronomist, the work at these research farms is extremely critical. I'm asked a lot of questions, and they don't want my guesses. They want research to help people guided with answers. And these research farms really guide answers for a lot of what I get requests for. late planting, what do you do if you get a hailstorm, all those things that Mark talked about. That's the guidance that we get for putting publications together and giving guidelines to clients. So we're really grateful we have that information out there to give us that confidence to know that we're giving the correct answers in almost all cases. So we really appreciate the work of the research farms. With that, I am going to do two things. If you have to leave because it's 8:30, please feel free to leave. If you want to listen to a little more discussion maybe about cover crops, do that. But before we do that, I want to remind people, number one is if you didn't turn in your CCA credit number when you registered, put that in the chat box. Secondly, a reminder, we start again at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. At 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll be talking about water quality with Dr. Matt Helmers and the research going on across the state with that topic. And also a reminder, at Wednesday at 1 p.m., the webinar on managing down corn. So for those of you that have to leave, thanks for being here today. I really look forward to seeing you at the research farm face-to-face sometime in the future. But with that, I'm going to go back to the panelists. I'm going to say, tell us a little more about cover crops.
Joel, there's one more thing that I wanted to mention before too many people dropped off, and that was the importance of the staff at the research farms. They are the farm superintendents and managers and technicians, really important people that make these places happen. And as you said, they're very innovative with machinery, because so much of the farm equipment today doesn't fit into what they do, and they have to modify it. And they're there every day making all of this happen. And I just want to recognize their work and how important and innovative they are. And we really appreciate farm managers and the farm staff.
I'd like to echo Mark's comment. We have a great staff, and they do a lot of varied work in tough conditions, and they do a great job. Joel, you asked about cover crops, and sure, we can comment a little bit more about that. We have work going on with different seeding times of cover crops, different cover crop varieties being used, grazing of cover crops. So just, again, a wide array of work.
Always welcome new ideas for these research farms. We can't guarantee every idea will be tried, but we always appreciate the input. So I just want to kind of wrap up since I don't see any more questions in the Q&A box. Tim Good, thank you for being here this morning. Mark Honeyman, thank you for being here this morning. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody tomorrow when we do the next session. Thank you.